Hello, everyone were able to see my screen? Yari Vijay, you were able to see my screen? Okay, okay, okay. Okay, then in the last class, just we had a discussion about the how to use this use bean and then set property and then get property, right? So now in this class, we'll see about the session scope concept. So what is the scope? Actually, to speak, as part of the score attribute, there are like 4 different values are being present. Okay, one is page. Okay, next one is request, session, application. Okay, page is the one, the scope of this particular page is up to that particular page only. Okay, up to that particular page. And whenever if you just store the data into the bean, and if you want to use the particular data within that particular page, then at the time please use the page concept. Okay, and then request concept, whenever like we want to store the data in a request, and then if we want to use the particular data in the same page, and in a case if we forward by using included forward tags. Okay, in a case if we forward the request object to the another JSP or servlet by using included forward. Okay, in the next JSP or servlet class if you want to use, then at that time you can go for the request. Session is the one, like if we try to store the object into the session, then what happens is like until the session didn't expire, I mean until the session exists, okay, you can be able to use this particular data at anywhere and in any file in the servlet or JSP, right? Next, application. When you put in an application, you can, it's like a global access. Okay, it's like you can able to access from any servlet and anywhere. Okay, it is not like tied up to any session object and all. Okay, it will be present in an application, anyone can use this. Okay, let us see the with an example. Okay, let me try to start the server first. So I'm trying to start this server, run on server, click on finish. Yeah, I have started my this one. Okay, I will show you one new thing here. Okay, actually what is our starting HTML file here? Save name.html file, right? Starting HTML file is save name.html file, right? Now let me try to rename this as index.html. Okay, I'm just saying that save name.xml has a index.html. Same file only, just I changed the name. This is a starting page, right? In this starting page, we're having the to enter the email ID, user ID in is, right? So just I changed the name of this. See, I changed the name to index.html, right? Now I have started my server. Better I will restart it. Run as, run on server, click on finish. See here what is happening. I didn't even given the index.html, but we are getting the page. If you want, you will go and see it here. See here, when you observe clearly, I'm not even giving index.html here. Just if I go up to the project and click on enter, then by default it is taking index.html. So that is how the project deals with. I mean, whenever we have created the project, it will go and search for do we have any files with index.html or index.jsp, like that. Do we have any such? Yes, there is an index.html, so it will automatically pick up and will show you. Okay, so that is how it is working, that index.html. Now let me try to enter the data. Right now, which scope I'm using? Session scope we have already been seen, right? Let us start with page scope. Okay, let me stop the server, start once again. So at the time of creating this bean, we're trying to create this bean in a page scope. Okay, now server is started. Come back here, just try to click on enter. Yes, I got the starting login page. Try to enter the data, click on enter. Next, data you entered is email ID, name, and then age. We are present in save name.jsp file, right? Means this one. We are present in save name.jsp file. In this location, first I'm trying to create the user data bean object. Okay, in the scope called page scope. Okay, in the scope called page scope, and then after creating, I am trying to set the values by using set property. Okay, here we need in under the properties attributes we need to give the property names, and under the name attribute we need to give the reference of the bean ID, nothing but this one. Okay, we are done at here. Mean when we come out here, by this time I already created the bean and I set the properties, so my object is been available under the page scope. Now here itself I'm trying to print the data by using get property. So same as just like set property, in order to access the get property, just going to provide the property name and then bean ID under the name attribute. Okay, once we have provided, it will just these are the three ones which are printing the email, user ID, and is. Okay, so that is the reason. See here we can able to see all the data at here, email ID, name, and then is. See, now what happens when I click on the save data link? When I click on the save data link, it will go to the second page, right? Let me try to click it. The data you entered is null, null, null. I'm getting three nulls. Why I'm like so? Let us go to the second page.jsp. Same at here. It is trying to create the user data object. If it is present, already been present under the page scope with this user as a reference, then it will access. If it is not, then it is going to create a new one. Right. Now see here what happens. We are trying to access these by using get property, but I'm getting null values at here. Why? What is the reason? Because the scope of the page attribute is within this particular page only. Okay, scope is within this particular JSP page only. If you want to access this, if your requirement is just like that, then use in this kind of a scenario. Okay, next. So that is the reason. If you go to the second another page and there, if you try to create the user data, then it is going to create a new object, not under this new page scope, because this is up to the particular page level, right? So this is a new object. A new object generally been have null data. So that is the reason it is displaying null set here. Okay. Next, we'll see another one called request scope. Okay. We try to create here UQVST request scope. Okay. For better results, I'll stop the server and start it once again. Okay, I got a new page, and then let me try to enter XYZ zone 25. Okay, now click on next. As we are using the request scope, this is the save name JSP where we set the values and then we set the get properties. So I can able to see. Now let me try to click on save data. It will go to the second name.jsp file, right? See, in the second page JSP file, I am still not able to see. Null, null, null. Why it is like so? Here, if you observe clearly, I am not forwarding the request object from here to here. Okay, I'm not forwarding my request object from here to here. Okay, that is the reason when it is trying to create the user data object, this is a new request now. Okay, this one is a new request, and if it comes to the this is a new request. Okay, it's another request. Okay, when it comes to here, it will try to search for the user data object with the reference ID user which is present in this request scope or not. As this is a new request, maybe obviously don't have any user data object, so it is going to create a new object. Okay, that's the reason it is just trying to print. Now we'll do one thing. We'll try to modify the code in such a way like we'll forward the okay we'll forward the request from here to here. JSP colon forward second page.jsp file. Okay, so now if I try to go in this case, this request object is a request as well as response objects are forwarded from save name.jsp file to second page, but this page may not be displayed. The reason is when it reaches this particular file, it will execute all these and then it will directly forward to this particular page. So we can see from index.html to second page, you may not be seeing this. Okay, this is directly been forwarding, right? Better we can stop the server and start once again so that you'll get the better results, because already the data is stored in the request scope, so I don't want to get that from the cache. Done, right? Come back here. Now click on enter. Now trying to enter the data XYZ zone 25. Click on next at here. I'm actually been going to third file, save name.jsp file. Something is happening wrong or what? Given a wrong input at here. Yes, go here, click on enter. Let me see what is the bug. Our code. Okay, got it, understand. Okay, it's actually been forwarding, but we didn't understand it correctly. Okay, see here, I'm in index.html file. I'm entering the data as usual. Okay, I'm coming to the save name. In the save name.jsp file, we are trying to enter this data. Create the object, and then after creating by user set property, we're getting setting this. Okay, save name.jsp, but we're getting the results of this is save second page. Because at the time of forwarding, it's going to show the only old page. It won't show the new page. That is the reason, like, it is showing the save name.jsp, but it came here, okay, in this particular page. Let us try to see it once again. Zone 25. Now click on next. See, actually I'm present in a second page.jsp file, means nothing but final JSP file. Okay, actually it was forwarded, and by using get property, I'm trying to print the values. Yes, I can able to get those values. Email ID zone 25. In this case, why it is working like so? Because I'm trying to forward my request object by using forward tag. Okay, by using JSP forwards, I'm trying to pass my request object from save name to second page. That is the reason we are using the same request, right, in this case. So that is the reason still I can able to access the email user ID and is. Okay, any doubts in this?
No.
Yari, Lakshmi, have any doubt?
Yes, it's clear.
Yeah, great. Okay, now third one is session scope. Okay, we try to update the scope as session. Stop the server and start it once again. Run on server, click on finish. Okay, now come back to the browser and try to print. Now here there are no worries at all, as this is present in the session scope. So until the session exists, you can able to access it anyway. So this is the save name.jsp file. When I click on the save data, it will go to the second page, right? I'm in the second page. Yes, still I can able to access the data because the data whichever I have created, right, it is present under the session scope. Okay, it is present under the session scope. So for example, if I created the user bean object, okay, which is having email, user ID, age, right, consider this as one small object. Okay, so here what is happening, we are trying to place this particular one in a different scopes. One time first time we tried in a page scope, and then second time we're trying to place in a request scope, third time we place in the session scope, next same way for the application scope. So when I put in a page scope, it says like up to that particular page only I am eligible. Okay, if you move out of that particular page, yes, you may not be use me. Okay, I'm like a useless, because every page is having its own new page object. Okay, scope of the page object is up to that particular page only. Next, if you go for the request, actually if you try to put in a request object, okay, up to that particular page we can use it, there were no issues. Okay, in case if you move to the another page in a normal way, just like as shown previous, okay, then in the new page we're going to get a new request object. Okay, in a case, for example, I got requirement saying like I have one some forward or include. Okay, in that case I need to get this. Then in those cases only it will be like applicable. For example, in here in the previous case where I'm trying to use the forward, either forward or request. In that case we're trying to passing our request and response object to the another JSP file, right? So that is the reason. I mean, in those cases it will works fine. Okay, request session is the one like it will be like up to the particular session. I mean, until the session exists, okay, in the server we can able to store and access from anywhere. Okay, next, application, this is like a kind of a global object, anyone can able to access. If one person set the value, another person also can able to access this. Okay, if you want I will show you the application also. Okay, next one is application scope. It just works as shown you. See here, I can access at any page when I put in application scope. Okay, depending upon your requirement, we are going to use the scopes accordingly for these beans. Okay, you guys were clear about this?
Mani, I have a question.
Yeah, Vijay.
Actually, session scope means the session will be stored at the server side,
Mm-hmm.
so you can able to access with the session name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the request means it will be passing by the request away from one page to the next page.
It
It comes to the
mm.
what's yeah, but I don't know like where we store this application object.
Application object is a kind of a global object. Okay, it will be stored under the global level. I mean, in the application, any user can able to access any user,
Like
any page. Okay, it will
like
be
where it will be stored.
okay. Consider my application is called some in
For
this.
us, it's a test object.
Sorry.
For us, it's a test class, test project, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Consider now we're having one test project, right? So this
Okay,
project name is test project. I mean, many are there in this one. I'm just concentrating about the test project. Consider we're having
okay,
another project called we're having another project called something called servlet. Okay.
okay,
So the application object scope is at a global level. Okay. If I created an application object at here, I mean, this object can be accessed anywhere within this test application. In any JSP file, any servlet file, we can able to access this. But this may not be used in the servlet application. This is a different application, right? As this is
okay,
present in
yeah.
the same server, but it is in different application, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the object may not be accessed by other applications. That is like a itself wrong, thinking itself wrong, right? For example, if I created some object and I'm trying to store that particular object in a application scope, then by using this okay, by using this application scope, I can able to access the particular object. So that is the main reason behind, like, some of the objects will be will be there. For example, my company name, company address, all these details are like common for all the users. Okay, I mean,
Okay,
for example, if everybody is having their own credentials, user their own profiles, but still the contact us link will be there for every page. Okay, I mean, for every application, contact us page will be there. If you try to click on the contact us, it has to show the same data for all the users, right? It should not like different for different people, right? It should not be like that.
correct.
So if that is the case, then what I'm going to do, I'm going to store that particular data in an application scope. Okay, so that it will be become global, so anyone can able to access such kind of data. Or anyway, if
Okay,
it is not a secure data, because a company address, yes, what is a problem if other person sees that particular? So that's the better to go for an application scope. In case if you have any sensitive kind of a data, then better to store in a session scope, because session is up to that particular user only. Because if you try to store the data in the session scope, for example, if I'm having 10,000 users, 10,000 times the data will be get stored in the different objects, right? So unnecessarily we are spending some memory.
okay,
Instead, if you in that case, if you try to store that in application scope, then only once you are trying to store. After that, you can able to reuse it at any way.
okay. Not even at the browser level, right?
Not even at the browser level. Yeah, it's in the server only. Application is present in the server only. It's a servlet context object.
Okay,
Okay, storing the servlet context object in the application level, anyone can able to access. For example, if you have any common data, then common data can be stored in the application level.
okay. But it's stored in the server, but some global place.
Exactly. Yeah, it is not like at user level, or it is not like request level or page level like that.
And when it will be destroyed, like session will destroyed in 30 minutes, right?
No, its scope is not up to that particular session. For example, if you undeploy that particular application from the server, then at that point it's going to get destroyed.
Okay, okay,
Okay, if you try to remove that particular application from the server, that time it's going to destroy.
okay, got it.
Great. Okay, next we'll go to the next concept called expression language. Okay, expression language is kind of a one, like we are going to use the syntax as like this: dollar symbol, open brace and close brace, as like this flower braces. Okay, instead of this we are going to place the values. I will show you an example. Okay, don't worry. And under this expression language, the main intention why they introduced it is they want to remove the scriptlets from the JSP files. Okay, so that the code will be clean. Okay, so that there will be some there will be no nonsense kind of like, for example, if you are getting some common kind of a problem in all the projects, then that time they introduced this expression language EL. Okay, okay, expression language is the one just we're going to describe as like this. I mean, just we are going to use the syntax as like dollar symbol, open flower brace and close flower brace. Okay, and it is having some scopes are present for this expression language. Okay, what are they? So these are the scopes present: page scope up to that particular page, request scope as usual, session scope, application scope, param values, header values, cookie, init param, and page context. We'll see one simple example with the param. Okay, param. For example, param is the one like, whenever you're trying to send the data in a URL or in the body. Okay, in those cases we can able to use this param. Okay, we'll see one simple example for this one. Okay, consider an example. I have taken one project called servlet. Inside of this, some two JSP files are there. Okay, let me try to start it and show once again. After that, we'll discuss about it, how it works. Run on server, click on finish. Okay, now my server started. My page is one.jsp file. Now, actually, I am in one.jsp file. It is asking for my name, and after that, when I click, I am trying to click on go. Okay, for example, I'm giving Durga as the name. Okay, click on go. We're going to the 2.jsp. I'm sending the value as first name is equal to Durga, and then see here, hello Durga, welcome to the Java world. Okay, now let us go back and see the concept here. So this is the static one, hello, welcome to the Java world, as it is displaying. Then concentrate about this one. This is called as EL, expression language expression. Okay, in this one I'm trying to use the scope of param. Okay, scope of param means whenever I'm trying to send the data as like this. Okay, whenever I'm trying to send the data as like this, either the request URI or in the body, request body. Okay, in those cases, okay, if I want to access that particular data, then I need to use the param scope, and then we need to give the name of that particular value. See here, this is the input tag where exactly I'm entering my data. Okay, the name of this tag is first name. Okay, name of this tag is first name, so that's the reason I'm trying to put it here as a first name. So in the URL parameter, try to search for the parameter name called first name. Yes, we're getting the parameter name called first name. So what is the value of this parameter name? Durga, right? So that is the reason in place of that particular EL, it is trying to put the data as like Durga. So that is the reason I can able to see the value here. Okay, then we'll see another example. Here I am in one.jsp file. Better I will go to another one, index.jsp. Okay, in this I'll reduce this. I'll remove unnecessary coding. Now see here, this is index.jsp file. Okay, I'm trying to create the scriptlet first. Okay, inside the scriptlet there is a session object being available, right? If it is scripted means inside the service method is having implicit object as session, right? So if I want to put the data in a session object, then what I need to do, I need to use session.setAttribute. Okay, for that we need to provide key and value. If I want to access the session object, I mean for example in the session object I'm having my own data. If I want to access that particular means we need to use session.getAttribute of key. Like that we can able to access, right? So let us see in this. I'm in index.jsp file. I'm using session.setAttribute and this is the key and this is the value. Okay, now after that when I click on the click to process, nothing but it will go to the 2.jsp file. Okay, in the 2.jsp file I need to access this value from the session scope. Okay, I need to access the value from the session scope. Then what is the key of this session scope? Name, right? Okay, I'm trying to access this value from the session scope and the key of the session scope is, I mean whichever the object that I want to access means that is called name, right? Now let's come back at here, go to the index.jsp file. Okay. Welcome to index page. Okay, click to process. Okay, in the scriptlet I have already been hard coded at here in index page, nothing but okay, put the session in the session scope, put this name and then value. So when I already been entered into this page index.jsp, I'm already been having this particular data. Okay, now click to process. Hello Zone, welcome to the Java world. How I'm getting this? Because here in the 2.jsp file I'm trying to access that particular value by using implicit object called session scope. Okay, we're having the different objects at here, right? So in this one we are using the session scope. Okay, session scope to access the value, and then we need to give the key. Tell me how to access the request scope, request thing at here. Here anyway, if I want to access from the request scope, then I need to use request
Scope.
scope. Yes, it is correct. Then what about this at here? We need to use request dot set attribute, right?
Yep.
In the request also there will be like set attributes and get attributes objects. So here we need to use request dot set attribute. Okay, when I move from index.jsp file to 2.jsp file, can I able to access this?
Yes. No,
No,
you need to forward.
exactly. If you either forward or include, okay, in
Include.
those cases it will pass the same request object, right?
Yep.
Then only we can able to access. Otherwise every page, whenever if you for example if I try to hit the index.jsp, this is a new request. When I try to hit the 2.jsp, yes, this is the new request. For every hit it is going to take a new request. It won't take a duplicate one or existing one. It won't take. Only in the case of forward and include it is going to take the, it is going to forward the request from one page to another page. Okay, in those cases only we need to use this scope. Okay, and in the same way we're having some other scopes like um, cookie scope is there. Okay, This is as simple as like this. See here. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to create one data object, okay, and then I'm trying to create one cookie. Okay, in this cookie I'm trying to store some key and then value. Okay, and then value, then I'm adding it to the response so that it will be added in the browser. Okay, after that, when for every hit in the request, along with the request object, we are going to pass the cookies, right? If I want to access the cookies, then what is the key here? Cookie. Then we need to provide the key name. For example, it is a current date, right? If I want to display the current date at here, then use the current date so that it is going to display. I mean, whatever you try to store at here, it will display accordingly. Okay, here I am trying to store the date object, so it will store it here, show it here, date object only. See, it's actually been showing the object, not the value at here, because I'm trying to store the object, right? So that is the reason. Okay, we need to convert it actually to speak accordingly at here. I'm just using the name of the object. Okay, that's why it is trying to pass the name of the object only. Okay, like this, we're having some other scopes also. Page scope is up to that particular page only. Request scope is up to that particular page, and some other cases are like only for request, and if you're using forward or include, in those cases also we can able to access this in other pages. Session scope, yes, up to that session, particular session exists for that particular user. Application scope is also having set attribute and get attribute methods. Okay, application scope is global level, anyone can able to access. Param is the one, whenever I'm trying to send the data either in a URL or in the body of the request. URL means whenever using get method, body means whenever using the post method, right? Whenever I'm sending such kind of a data, then at that time use the param. Okay, next, param values, we can see it later. Okay, in the coming class I will show you an example with param values, how it works. Header, it's not been required that much for you guys. Okay, right now better just keep in mind that's it. We can able to use the header scopes and all. It will be like, you know, separate scenario is there to create a header and all these things. Okay, next, cookie is the one where you can able to access from the cookie. First we need to store it as a cookie in a browser. From the browser it is going to access, just we need to provide the name of the cookie. Okay, next, init param means in the web.xml, if you try to store some data by using init param, those cases we can able to access this by using init param. Or otherwise, get the config object, in the config object try to store the data, in those cases also we can able to access. Next, page context, it is also just like a request context only, but it is like, you know, little bit more higher than that. Okay, and right now it is also been not required that much, we are not using this. Okay, next, any doubts in this one, how to use the EL expressions?
I have one question. Like that expression is used only to get the values. Do we have anything like to set?
It is just only for to get the values. For example, consider as a
Okay.
case, I'm having the request. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, request scope, consider. Okay, and then I can able to you provide the whatever the name. Okay, whenever I'm using the set attribute in the request scope, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not using this, then what? How to access this? First, I need to create the scriptlet
Yep.
string
Yes.
name is equal to request dot get attribute. Then I need to provide the name of that particular object.
Yes, expression.
Exactly. I'm going to typecast it here. Writing type is object, that's why. And then here we need to use EL expression to print that value. So I want to print the value means I need to use it as like this. It is like little bit like, you know, tedious, right? I mean, we need to
Yeah.
first create a script plate, we need to get the value on this. Instead, if
Correct.
I use the EL expression, then
It will be in one line.
yes, request a scope dot name. That's it. It will do the job
Yep.
accordingly. So this is the main uses of the EL expressions in JSPs. Any doubts in this one?
Yeah, clear.
Yep, great. In the next class, we'll see JSTL, Java Standard Tag Library. Okay, and then
Okay.
filters. Only the two concepts are like pending for us. JSTL and filters. I'll try to cover it on tomorrow. Whether we'll see whether we can able to.
Okay. Uh, Mani, I have a question.
Yeah, Vijay.
Not regarding the concept.
Hmm.
Okay. Do you teach like like other courses like